Hey, what's going on, everyone? I am back for another Slim Sports interview. And as always, I'm your host, Jay Slim. And what seems to be a consistent part of this podcast is I always seem to get Buffalo players on. And not just any Buffalo players, but some of the best, the rising stars. You see Red Murdoch's jersey behind me, had him on after his sophomore year, knew he was a rising star going to the NFL. And that's why I had to get this guy on, rising star at that quarterback position for the Bulls, looking to dominate in year two in 2026 and have a fantastic career, just as some of his teammates have been able to do at the University of Buffalo. Ladies and gentlemen, 6'3" quarterback, Jason Wright. How's it going, J Dub?
How you doing? How you doing? Thank you for having me on here.
Hey, absolutely, man. Excited to get you on here. Red Murdoch talked very highly of you, as well as some of your other teammates. I've been able to get Jalen McNair, Solomon Brown, and Henry Tabonsi on just this season alone, and had a lot of other guys on last year, like Aljay Henderson, Marquise Cooper. And these guys have all talked very highly of you, and the future is bright for the offense of this Buffalo Bulls with you leading the way, able to throw the ball. Apparently, you have one of the strongest arms from what I've heard, and obviously one of the fastest on the field from what you were able to do this past season. And I want fans, viewers that are just now getting to learn your name, see your face for the first time, to get to learn a little bit about what you were able to do in just year one alone in a quick segment that I like to call Resume Rundown. Obviously, just year one in the collegiate ranks, so not a whole lot on your resume, but you were able to be a part of an offense that was the third best passing offense in the MAC conference. You had a dominant group of receivers, including two of the top five receivers in receiving yards in the entire MAC conference, and Nick McMillan and Victor Snow. And you were able to come out there, showcase what you could do with your speed, with your athleticism. When Taquan Roberson got hurt, you and Gunnar Grace stepped in, and even after Roberson came back, you came in a couple of packages to be able to show off what you could do as a true freshman. And year one for anyone in the college ranks, you're learning. You're trying to get used to the college athlete way of life, learn the playbook, and try to develop your game to be able to match some of these upperclassmen. Talking real quick about the process throughout this true freshman season for you in 2025, learning from some of these veterans and the coaching staff.
Right. It was definitely a big learning process. I was an early enrollee guy, so I came in around this time last year, so around January, and just to be able to get in early and understand how college works, understand a big thing about Division I football is schedule. And once you finally find your schedule and routine, I feel like that's when you can really elevate yourself. So I was able to get ahead of that with early enrolling, and I'm happy about that. And just my progress throughout the season.
Hey, obviously you were able to get to learn early on. That's great that you're able to come in around this time last year. The sooner you're able to get in, the sooner you're able to learn the playbook. And
So,
obviously you have an even higher level of knowledge just from that extra semester. And this season as a whole for you, you were able to learn, how to handle the highs and how to handle the lows. You guys had a little bit of a back and forth season, ended up going 5-7 overall, 4-4 in MAC conference action. And this team was able to have some big time effectiveness in those wins that you guys had. St. Francis, you guys put up 45 on them, 45-6 win there. Bowling Green, 28-3 win there. And then Eastern Michigan, I mean, very tough opponent. You guys went into overtime, held strong, 31-30 win there as well. You actually got to get a couple of snaps against them in that game there, get some time for you on the field. Talking real quick about those big time wins and the effectiveness, as especially, I mean, you were able to compete in some of those games, like I mentioned, as this first year guy, seeing the field for the season for the first time. What's your perspective on how you guys were able to compete with some of these top tier teams?
my perspective is just seeing the fight and will of a lot of these guys. A lot of those, like you just read out the scores, a lot of those games were kind of close games and came down to the last second. Um, and it really tested our group as a whole. I think that was the theme of the year, just close games and really fighting through all the nail biters and stuff like that. So um, it was definitely a lot of fighting to get those wins.
Yeah, I mean, you guys played a very tough team in Troy this year, where that was a one score game. UConn was a one score game as well. And you got to learn from some very experienced quarterbacks. I mentioned Gunner, who, he did a great job when he had to step in as well when Taquan Roberson got hurt. But Roberson was a starting quarterback, QB1 throughout most of the season. And the thing that I saw kind of interesting when I was writing the notes for your interview is the fact that you and him kind of have a similar skill set as far as the fact that you guys are dual threat quarterbacks. You're able to go off and throw the ball deep while also be able to get big yardage on the ground. Gunner, he was more of a true passer, didn't really have that athleticism that you guys had. So talk me real quick about learning from Roberson, a guy who came from Kansas State, Penn State, and also UConn as well. He had a stint there as their starter for a sec. Talk to me real quick about how you were able to really learn from him as far as how you can grow your game at this level.
Yes, sir. It was big. It was just I was able to see how he prepared and carried himself throughout the entire season. And he kind of took me under his wing, and helped me progress throughout the year, like I said earlier. And a big thing that I took from him was preparation. I roomed with him for games, and I saw how much he studied studied the game throughout the week. I saw how much he really took a lot of notice to the small things, and I feel like that's what's important. Um, Along with the other quarterbacks as well. I was able to pick the small things that I like out of each person. Um, but more so from Taekwon, I like a lot of his stuff.
Yeah, obviously you gotta be able to learn from everybody in that quarterback
For sure.
room, but obviously Roberson was the one on the field most of the time, being able to do what he did, and you were able to learn from a great guy there, a great human being as well. I've talked to him a little bit, through social media. Very fantastic job. Can't wait to see where he goes for
For
his
sure.
professional career. And you yourself, you were able to see the field a little bit throughout this season. I believe you saw time against UConn, Eastern Michigan, Central Michigan, and you met the quota to where you could still redshirt this season, even though you were able to see some snaps on the field. So you do get that year back moving forward, can play another 4 years at least with eligibility. Now you can play for another 10 years if you wanted to, I guess.
Right.
But
Right.
you were able to still put up a few nice little highlight plays that I want to show off here in a segment that I like to call Make That Play, where I went through the film that you have and I put together what I felt like were your top three plays from this past season, being able to showcase what you could do with your athleticism on the ground in that run game. But obviously, I'm just a fan of the stands. You're the one on the field for the first time this season doing what you did this past year. What would you say was your best play from this past season?
My best play, I would say, is yeah, I'll go back to the Eastern Michigan game. It was a slow start. The offense wasn't really moving the ball that well. And I think I had like an explosive run. It's either that one or the Yukon, my first ever game that I played in. And I had a couple runs right up the middle, ran through a couple guys. And it was cool to have that first taste of college hits in a way. But yeah,
Oh yeah, well trust me, UConn and Eastern Michigan are on my list as well. And I'm gonna go on ahead and I'm gonna start off at number three on my list, which is your first ever rush as a freshman on the field. You got 5 yards on the play going against UConn, ran up the middle, fighting through a group of defenders. They're trying to bring you down. You said, no, I'm staying up, I'm getting some yardage. And it took a swarm of them to bring you down while you were using your guys' center's block to get even further upfield. So credit to him. Great job on the block by the O line. And that one's at number three. Number two, Eastern Michigan, 9 yard rush there. You ended up getting a first down yardage, I believe, on that play. Ran out to the right side, utilized those blocks perfectly once again, showing off that IQ as a young player, and juke past some defenders to get that first down yardage and more, doing what you were able to do. And at number one, going against UConn once again, got to go back to that game, 8 yard rush there, where you once again ran up the middle and you fought hard through a big time tackle attempt. They thought they were going to bring you to the ground. You shoved him off, said, no, I'm going to keep on going, got some more yardage, and it took three Huskies in order to bring you down there. So being able to show off that perseverance, show off what you could do on the field. as such a young player. And I keep mentioning it because you are young, but you're showing already that IQ and that grit and grind mentality as of some of these veterans. So obviously, like you mentioned before, learning from Taquan, Gunner, and some of those other quarterbacks. And you were able to, like I said, be a part of this offense that was third best passing offense in the MAC, had some incredible receivers in McMillan and Snow. Uh, what would you say was the effectiveness in this passing game overall? Obviously, it helps having two of the best receivers that they're both now at Power Four schools. Josiah Gay things, I didn't even mention him. That dude had some ESPN top 10 worthy catches as well. And, some other guys that are coming up through the ranks. What made this passing offense so elite in this MAC conference?
I feel like it goes back to our preparation. Just having the that off season grind and us coming together. Even the throwing sessions outside of practice. I feel like um, that all took place and it showed whenever we got on the field. So I take it all back to that.
Yeah, and obviously, you on the season came in primarily run packages. You had, I believe, 14 total carries for 45 yards on the season. I did see a couple of plays here and there, one specifically where it doesn't show up on your stat sheet because there was a pass interference call, but you threw that thing deep. I believe it was to Nick McMillan. And if the defender didn't end up having that pass interference call, he probably would have caught it for some big time yardage because that was on the dot right there for your receiver. How would you say you maximize these snaps? You know that I'm sure the coaching staff probably talked to you before the season, like, hey, we're planning on redshirting you so you can get this year back, get a year to learn. But then obviously you get a chance to get on the field a few times here and there. How would you say you maximized those opportunities that you were given?
Right. I feel like I maximized the opportunities pretty well. I understand that it was a limited amount of snaps that I was able to take. Um, just the fact that I wasn't the starting quarterback, and I understood that Taquan's a good quarterback. So whenever I did get on the field, I knew, okay, this is my show. You know what I mean? I got to really take advantage of the opportunity that I have, and I feel like I did that. Um, so just going into the game or going into each play at one play at a time. You know what I mean? I'm not looking too far ahead or anywhere else. I'm just trying to stay in the moment and maximize it.
There you go. Perfect mentality to have there. And you have to have that kind of mentality, especially when you go through those rough patches like you guys ended up going through at the end of the season. Went 0-3 to end the 2025 season, unfortunately. But like I mentioned before, obviously a lot of those were close games. You guys, I believe it was a one-score game in your guys' season finale against Ohio, I believe it was. And you, as this young player, we talked about how you're learning the playbook from some of these other guys, learning this, how to develop your skill set. Talk to me real quick about how you handled those tough losses as your first year in the college ranks. How did you handle going to, these tough losses, knowing that you guys were right there in it to where you could win? And how would you compare that to what you learned from the veterans like Roberson and McMillan, Alj Henderson, some of the offensive line, how they handled these tough losses in comparison?
All right, the tough losses definitely hurt, but I feel like it's important to handle the wins and losses all the same. Like it's back to the drawing board. As long as you're doing exactly what you want to do, preparation wise before the game, I feel like that's all you can do. You know what I mean? So obviously we wanted to have those wins, but um, it's just back to the drawing board after each game.
There you go. Back to the drawing board for the 2026 season coming up here in the fall. You're looking to go off, compete for that starting quarterback role, and hopefully be QB1 at the start of the 2026 season, where you guys are going to have a very tough schedule. Once again, the MAC conference is no joke. Some of the best defensive ends in the country seem to always come out of the MAC. You guys had one of them, Kobe Stewart. He's fantastic DN that I've been able to have on. And so you at that quarterback position, you got to be ready to go. And thankfully, you have that athleticism to do what you do. But the crazy part for Buffalo is, and I talked about this with some of the guys I've had on this year already, where, they were guys that were coming back from a year ago. You guys had a lot of veterans coming back from the 2024 season. Now, you guys, it's reversed. You guys have a lot of guys that are leaving from offense and defense. Offensively, I mean, Taquan is graduating. He's going pro. Same thing with Alj. Basically, the whole offensive line, it seems like, and your two top receivers. So
All
Jose
right.
thinks he's coming back, looking to be wide receiver number one next year. Fantastic year this past season with some incredible catches, like mentioned before. But outside of him, really nobody else from the starting offense is really coming back. So as a guy looking to step up as QB1 next year, young with limited experience on the field, how are you looking to really help this group be able to process throughout this offseason, grow and develop this offense to go off and be one of the best in the MAC once again next year in 2026?
All right. I feel like it starts with having leadership. Right now, like you mentioned, it's like a whole new team. I remember walking in the building in January and really seeing that, like all the older guys, everybody who you once knew at Buffalo are really gone. So it's just about whoever can step up, and really help lead the team, which I'm gonna do my part to do my best in that for sure.
Oh yeah, a lot of guys are expecting you to take a big step up. Like I mentioned before, Red Murdoch talked very, very highly of you during our interview, as well as some of the other guys like Solomon and Henry, Jalen McNair. They've all talked very highly of you and what you have as far as your abilities to grow. And they actually mentioned you, Red Murdoch, I know for a fact mentioned you in this segment we're about to get into called Who's Up Next, where you get to recommend some people that I can have on the podcast, shout out their names to where I can get them on to tell their story, talk about their careers just as you're doing now. So, who would you say is next up on the Some Sports podcast?
Okay. Yeah, I feel like I have a lot of guys I can name off, but just the few off the top of my head, I would say Phil Fulmer, wide receiver. We have Bradley, Tommy this should be a center this year, or Don. We have Don Rodriguez, Drayson Crane. This is I if I could shout out almost all of the young guys because I feel like we're all up and coming. We all gonna really play for real. Dwayne Early, um, wide receiver, Jackson Small, I say Nino Hill,
Mm.
and I can go on and on. You know what I mean? You want
Hey,
me to keep going?
Hey, nah, those are plenty of names right there. And
All
trust
right.
me, I watch Buffalo games all year long, keeping track of what you guys are able to do. And obviously, I'm going to be watching what you can do at that quarterback position next year, alongside all of these guys that you've mentioned. And like you said, the young bulls are coming up. I know Kobe Blackwell at that corner position. That dude is, I mean, he's going off looking to be Defensive Player of the Year in the MAC. Hopefully, you're
Yeah.
Offensive Player of the Year while you guys go off and hold up a MAC trophy in 2026. And so those are some great names for who's up next. Now we've got to talk about what's next for yourself. You have year one in the books. You have a better idea of how to handle the college lifestyle and be able to hopefully go into next year as QB1, as we mentioned. How are you really attacking this offseason specifically as far as improving your skill set in specific ways? Are you looking to, just put on some more muscle so you can handle those hits better? Are you looking to improve your passing game? What is it about this upcoming season that you're looking to improve on the most?
All right. I feel like it's a little bit of everything. Anything that I did last year, I want to up it by 10 times 10. So uh, I'm working on my preparation, my weight. I'm getting up weight. Um, I'm already up 5 pounds, so that's a good sign for sure. I'm also working on passing. I wanted to pass a little bit more than I did last year. But I'm still grateful for the opportunities I was able to have whenever I was on the field. So that's just one thing or a couple things I'm just looking forward to going into this year.
Hey, from what I've heard, you have one of the strongest arms on the team, so I cannot wait to see you chuck it downfield to Gathings or whatever receiver you have downfield for some big time touchdowns next season for leading the
So,
Bulls to another top tier passing offense once again in the MAC conference, man. Beyond blessed to be able to get you on the podcast after year one of your collegiate career. Hopefully, next couple of years, get you back on and we can see the growth, just as I've done with Red Murdoch and some of the other Bulls, seeing the growth in their careers. And hopefully, you're going to end up being just like them, end up at the NFL Combine, just like Red got to do this year, man. So, beyond blessed to have you on, man. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to hop on the podcast today for a fantastic interview.
yes, sir. Thank you for having me.